Hey folks, please enjoy this clip from our show, which you can find every single day at 4 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. We've been doing the best shows we've ever done, completely free of censorship and on a platform that actually supports us. You can also support us on Locals, where you can access a ton of exclusive content, movie riffs, as well as an archive of over 1,000 full episodes going back as far as 7 years. We've also teamed up with Merch Engine to bring you a new lineup of really awesome quality shirts, hoodies, and now even hats. So come check out our untethered, uncensored show on Rumble every single weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You stupid idiots.
Baby. Merch, please set up our guest.
Ladies
I pull him up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us is a highly avowed friend of the show, good pal, great drinking buddy,
yes,
and avowed domestic terrorist Owen Shroyer joining us from the War Room. What up, buddy?
What up, Owen?
Well, let's just be perfectly clear here. I am totally sober nowadays. The U.S. government has me under very strict watch, so unfortunately, I might not be the best drinking buddy anymore. I can't really travel. I can't really do anything. In fact, if one of you two happens to be a felon, I actually have to cancel this interview right now.
I don't think I'm a felon yet. Not yet. Oh, there goes Merch. Okay, it's just me and you, I guess.
Nah, none of the felonies ever stuck. Knock on wood.
Good. Most other stuff sticks to you.
Yeah,
but that's good.
But not that. Not everything else.
Especially in this humidity. Wait, so you still have like community control bullshit that they're doing still?
Yeah, I got. Honestly, man, it's crazy. I bet my probation is essentially the probation that violent criminals get and people that launder like millions of dollars receive. So
how long is it?
It's crazy. It's for a year. Wow. Travel restrictions, communications restrictions. I get drug tested regularly, randomly, all kinds of crazy crap. Yeah, I can't talk to felons, can't talk to any prisoners.
That is absolutely insane.
So it's not even so much. Of course, you know, putting you in fucking prison was abhorrent, obviously. But that's the other part. And then they you're still a fucking slave to the government for another year.
Mm-hmm.
That is just so fucking gross.
And PNP, like probation parole shit, it's having done probation before and having known a lot of people that have done probation before. I've even had friends that said, look, if you get a judge that says you're going to do 30 to 60 days in jail or you're going to get a year probation, if it's a choice in some cases, I know people that go, I'll just take the time, because probation is set up for you to fail it. That's all they want. It's not set up to reform anybody or to, hey, we're just, keep it clean for a year. They are like, they are hoping you fuck it up. Like, that's all they want. A probation officer is not trying to steer you clear. They want you to fuck it up.
Well, and I'll just say too, just in fairness, because I've been on probation since 2019. The political persecution of me really has been going on for multiple years. But in fairness, there are some good probation officers. Not every probation officer wants to see you fail. Not every probation officer wants to fuck you over like that. There are certainly some that do. I think it probably depends on, let's say, their client, if you will. Mm-hmm. Like, man, most of the probation officers I've dealt with, they look at my case and they kind of like scratch their head and they're like, what are you even doing here? Why are you even here? And the thing is, it's like, they don't really understand. They probably don't follow politics like we follow politics. In my most recent probation meeting, there was some stuff that got brought up, and there was a question, because these things are really invasive, actually. People might be surprised to find out how invasive some of these probation meetings are. It's that's just the routine, if you will. And there was a questionnaire. You got to fill out this questionnaire. And there was this questionnaire that was like, do you feel that you have been unfairly prosecuted by the system, or the system is out to get you? And I'm just reading this in my head, and I kind of burst out into laughter. And the probation officer is sitting there in the room with me, and he must think I'm insane. He goes, well, what's so funny? And I read the question back to him, and I was like, well, the question asked if I think I've been targeted by the system. And I don't think he fully got it. And then there was something else that came up that he asked me, and I was like, you haven't really done much investigating into my case, have you? And he essentially said, well, I mean, I know it's kind of a high profile case, but I could tell he really doesn't understand the full nature of it. And by the way, I think I'm lucky. I think the probation officer I have right now is a good person, and I don't think he's looking to fuck me over. I think he's hoping I stay out of trouble for probably his own sake too. He doesn't like it when people, probably looks bad on him when people fail their probation. But he looks at mine and he's just stunned. I have a less than trespassing misdemeanor. I have a entering restricted government grounds misdemeanor. And I am being treated like a violent criminal. I'm being treated like somebody who's spent years in prison. I'm being treated like somebody that's laundered millions of dollars. That's the probationary cautions that the government has me under right now. The U.S. government has my passport. The U.S. government has my driver's license. I mean, it's insane. And the stuff that I've done, of course, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of liberal Democrats that have done much worse and don't receive a minute of jail time or probation.
And first off, you could just easily look online and see people that have done criminal acts, violent criminal acts that have not been treated that way. And of course, it's political persecution. And I listened. I heard a lot of your interviews, and I think some of the stuff that I think is really shocking is people don't really understand, because there was a lot of fake news, for lack of a better term, that was coming up when the left, when you had gone in, and there were just people just making up stories and this and that. But what you did was a misdemeanor, and they were treating you like they treat a violent felon.
Like he was fucking Steve Buscemi in Con Air.
Right, exactly.
In the fucking Hannibal Lecter mask.
Yeah, exactly. And it really blows my mind how easy it is. And if it wasn't honestly for Elon taking over Twitter, people wouldn't even know the truth. And the media manipulated to really try to make you look like some sort of violent insurrectionist. But when you hear what really happened, and they had no basis to do this, people need to be worried, because there's a lot of people that might not like you, might not like InfoWars, or might not like Alex, might like anybody. But like, if they could do it to you, they could do it to anybody. To anybody. When you are pushing against them, when they don't like what you're saying, they will try to unperson you.
Well, and you hear this a lot too. Oh, well, just don't do anything wrong. Just stay out of trouble. Just stay in your lane, all this stuff. And I just sit there and I look at people that say that. And maybe I have been that person at some time in the past, but I just look at people and I say that, and I'm just like, you have no clue. That is one of the most ignorant statements or assumptions that you can make, is that, oh, just keep your nose clean. Just stay in your lane. Just don't do anything wrong. And you'll be fine. Tell that to many of the people that are wrongfully incarcerated in this country. And, that was a lesson that I learned being in the Bureau of Prison system, is how many people don't belong in there. You'd actually be stunned to find out how many nonviolent offenders and how many people are sitting in prison right now simply because the government has these new arms that they can use to force you to take a plea agreement. And some of these things are going to be challenged in court, like relevant conduct. There's this other thing called ghost dope, where basically they don't even have to catch you with any drugs. But if they get somebody saying that he saw you with drugs, or he knows you're affiliated with drugs, and they just arrest you on hearsay. So there's a lot of stuff that I learned, a lot of legal concepts that get used against the people, because all that happens in the system is, and I've said this ad nauseum, but I'm never going to stop saying it until it's not true anymore. Justice never enters the equation when it comes to the Justice Department. Never enters it. And until you're in that courtroom and you've got the judge here and you've got the prosecutors and U.S. attorneys here, and then you're over here, and you actually witness it for yourself, and you have that feeling of loneliness, and you have that feeling of isolation, and you have that feeling of hopelessness, knowing that, wow, I never had a chance here. I never had a chance at justice in this courtroom. The whole thing was weighed against me. The whole thing was rigged against me. That feeling of emptiness, until you felt it, you can't even comprehend it. The U.S. attorneys and the prosecutors have one thing in mind, and that's convictions. And then the judge's motivation is incarceration. Justice never enters the equation here. Never. And until you've actually been on the receiving end of that, it's something that's hard to even conceive or understand. But as somebody that's been there, I'm telling you, it's very, very real, and it's much worse. It's much worse than we realize.
I look. I gotta say, just word of advice though. Next time you're with your probation officer and you laugh, and he goes, "What are you laughing at?" Just say, "I was thinking of something from yesterday." Don't start reading his own questions back to him. It's probably probably won't like you forever. Also, like, we have to ask. The fans have been really just raring to know which gang did you join?
Yeah, what
was it AB? Was it the Norteños? Like, what are we?
I don't think you're not
with?
an MS-13 guy. I don't think.
No.
Look, I gotta say there were a lot of beautiful offers. Courting process.
They're all trying to draft Owen.
Yeah,
the courting process was beautiful. Yeah. Really, it was. It was hard. It was hard to. It was a hard thing. No, actually, so the prison I went to was one of the least political prisons in the BOP. The strange thing about that is because it's actually one of the few prisons where chomos can walk the yard. That's child molesters.
Really?
Yeah, because most prisons you go to, at least federal prisons, I mean, most gangs, they beat up child molesters. Like it's part of kind of all of their cultures to beat up child molesters. And the funny thing is, the prison culture, the inmates probably deal with child molesters better than the Department of Justice does. But the thing about the prison I was at is that it's a lot of guys that are trying to get out. It's a lot of guys that have worked their way down from higher security prisons. It's a lot of guys that are trying to get out on good time. There was some gang affiliations there. I can tell you some stories, but it's not. It's one of the least political prisons out there, and so really the gang involvement or the gang activity there wasn't as heavy-handed or involved in the process as it might have been other places. But I will tell you, you do kind of fall into some categories and some ranks. You do meet some people. And I would say that the Norteños are actually some of the nicest people. They are very nice people in there. I don't think I can qualify because I don't have the right let's say racial makeup, but they were some very nice people in there. And then really though, I fell into what's called the Texas Independence because I'm unaffiliated and I'm from Texas and I'm white. So I kind of just organically fall into what is called the Texas Independence.
It's like in Oz. He was the one that would hang out with like what's his face? The main guy and then the wheelchair guy. They just had that group that wasn't a gang in Oz.
Yeah,
they all just hung out and played chess and shit.
But I did get along with everybody though.
Yeah. So I heard you. I believe it was in the Tucker interview. You brought something up. Well, great. That was a great interview, by the way. But you did bring something up that I thought was I think a lot more people on the right need to hear this, and you touched on it a little bit, but there is a problem with the people that we are incarcerating. That you were saying a lot of these people shouldn't be in jail, and it feels like everything is reversed. Like, did you see a lot of people that you think would just run up the river?
I would say, and my experience is in one prison, and so I don't want to.
Of course,
I don't want to jump to any broader conclusions, but from my experience, I mean, I would say the majority of people that were in that prison do not belong there. Point blank, do not belong there. I mean, you got to understand that I made this comparison somewhere else too. If there's a Venn diagram, it's to find the center point. If we're doing a Kamala Harris exhibition here, you have basically a daycare and then an old folks home and then a concentration camp. And the prison system is the Venn diagram that has all the common things that all three of those have in common. Most of the time inside of this system, it's just old guys sitting around watching TV. That's it. They're not a threat to anybody. They never were a threat to anybody. They're never going to be a threat to anybody. That's like most of the activity that goes on there. As far as I could tell, the vast majority of people that were inside the prison with me, because you got to understand this, word travels faster than anything else in prison. Most things in prison, time and process moves extremely slow, but word spreads fast, not just between inmates, but between the guards and everything too. So who I was and what I do and everything, that spread relatively quickly, even when I was sitting in solitary. So you can imagine people find out you have a talk show that's pretty famous. Everybody wants you to tell their story. Everybody wants to tell me their story, and they want me to take their story out into the real world. So I happen to learn a lot through that process. And the vast majority of people that were in there are non-violent criminals. A lot of people that maybe got caught dealing some drugs, some people that were laundering money so they didn't have to pay their taxes. And then there were a lot of people that were trying to fight against the corrupt medical insurance, Medicare, and Medicaid institutions that get locked up because you can find anybody. I mean, I forget the name of the book, but you commit like 17 felonies a day or whatever. So, I mean, if you work in the Medicare field and you go up against the medical establishment, they easily find ways to charge you and put you in jail. So I learned about that. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff I learned about in there. I'm writing a book about it as well. I'm hoping to have that published sometime. I mean, realistically, probably in the spring or summer of next year. It's quite a project on top of everything else I'm doing. But yeah, most people don't believe in there. So there was a hearing. I'm sure you heard Matt Gaetz brought my name up during the BOP hearing with Colette Peters, and they're demanding $2 billion more. They're saying we're short. We need $2 billion more. Well, most of the stuff she said is right. The physical infrastructure of the prisons is a disaster. I mean, I'm showering in black mold showers. I mean, you can imagine the actual infrastructure as you're in there. I mean, you're sleeping on a mattress pad that's like an inch and a half thick. I can go on and on with that. I mean, rusted out lockers to put your stuff in. I thought actually I was going to get sick because there was like a jagged edge of this locker that I cut myself on. Luckily it wasn't infected, and I've had medical tests done on me since I've gotten out to make sure I'm okay, for a bunch of different reasons. But yeah, I'm all good on that. And then she talks about how the staff is unmotivated and incompetent and all this stuff. Oh yeah. Believe me, that's true. Some of the laziest people I've ever met worked at this prison. I mean, stunning levels of laziness. And I don't want to make a blanket statement.
The worst.
I don't want to make a blanket statement because there were a lot of good people there too. A lot of good people on both sides. We have a lot of good people. But some of the most lazy, incompetent people I've ever seen in my life worked at that prison. So she's right. She probably does need that. But they don't need $2 billion more of our money. What they need to do is find the equation of how many prisoners equate to $2 billion a year and just release them tomorrow. You need $2 billion, release $2 billion of prisoners tomorrow, and that will solve your problem, and that'll be better for everybody. I mean, you have fathers that are just sitting in those prisons right now, multiple kids, sons, just sitting in those prisons right now that are nonviolent criminals, and society would be much more benefited if they were at home with their families, even if you have them on house arrest, at home with their families instead of rotting away in prisons. I mean, so many examples of that. It would blow the average person's mind.
Yeah, but prison's big business, man.
Yeah.
You know how the feds work. If you run a department and you don't spend all the money, then they don't give you as much money next year. So you always got to have new money. So there's money in locking people up. It sucks, but that's just the truth.
And feeding them and clothing them and the hygiene products and the products that come into the commissary. Oh yeah, it's a business.
And speaking of feeding them and all that, I wanted to get into that. How did you end up in solitary? What happened there?
I was a speech prisoner, and then I was a speech prisoner inside of the prison. So basically, as you know, my speech is what landed me in the federal prison. Now, I don't know if this is policy everywhere or if it was just this prison. I'm pretty sure what they did is illegal, but that's a whole nother story. As soon as you get in, they put you in quarantine for COVID. Now, I didn't have COVID. I wasn't sick, and they put me in quarantine.
They're still doing that? They're still doing COVID
Still
stuff?
doing
Holy
it.
shit.
Still doing
Okay.
it. I don't even think it's legal, but they're still doing it. Now, the way the quarantine works is it's supposed to be 5 days. But because my 5th day landed on a Saturday, I didn't get out till Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent my first 7 days in quarantine. So I get out sometime, I believe it was Monday afternoon. And the first thing I do is I go and I make a phone call to let people know that I'm out of solitary and that I got your mail and your books. And thank you very much. God bless. Very vanilla milquetoast message, just heartfelt, thanking people, maybe 2 minutes. Well, it gets put up and goes viral on the internet. Now, I'm sure, as you have seen and many of your audience have seen, People call into talk shows and do podcasts and all kinds of stuff from prison all the time.
Yeah, Tiger King famously does. There's one.
You can go on the internet right now and find all kinds of videos and stuff coming out from inside prisons.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Rappers record entire albums over the phone.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, that phone call gets me what's called a shot, which is basically a disciplinary action inside the prison, which winds me up in the special housing unit, which is basically like it's the prison inside of the prison.
Yeah, the
if
shoe,
you shank
baby.
someone, if you shank someone or rape somebody or smuggle contraband in, they send you to the shoe. Well, that phone call had me sent to the shoe. So I was a speech prisoner inside the prison for my speech. So I was like a speech prisoner squared, if you can believe that. And I was supposed to spend nearly my entire sentence inside the shoe. If it wasn't for some good guys, let's say, that work inside the BOP, I got released early. But I was told off record, and these conversations are off record, and I got to be careful what I say, but I'll just give you the gist of it. The whole treatment of me in that facility was being called from the higher ups, the highest on the food chain at the Department of Justice. And they basically pulled me aside and they said, look, Owen, your beef isn't with us. We like you. We like your content. Sadly, I heard it too many times, but we're just doing our job. But they wanted to make sure. Hey, they say, Owen, your beef is not with us. We don't think you belong here. I mean, I had the highest level official that you can get inside these prisons, who's worked in prisons for decades, have a meeting with me, and he said, Owen, I have never seen anybody railroaded by the justice system like you. I've never seen anybody with a misdemeanor in a federal prison ever in my life. Nobody's heard of that, by the way. As far as we can tell, I'm still the only person with a misdemeanor to be in a federal prison. So, I mean, I was a speech prisoner, and then I was put inside the prison inside the prison for my speech, and I was told this came from the higher up. So it was that phone call. Many of your audience or you guys may have heard it, but it was very vanilla, just thanking people for the mail and the books, and that was it. And they locked me up for that, and they were going to keep me inside the shoe for that for virtually my entire sentence. But I got released early, thank God.
Jesus,
that's
brutal, man.
That
Isolation's like the most brutal thing they can do.
Yeah, how was it? I mean, that's got to be rough.
I mean, you lost weight.
Yeah, you look like you lost some weight.
A lot of weight.
Yeah, I lost 15 pounds while I was in there.
Wow.
That was my prediction too. Remember that? I said, man, watch, he's just gonna come out cutting weight, like fucking. And then we saw you at the border yesterday, and I'm like, damn, look, homeboy did lose some weight, man.
So I lost 15 pounds in there, and I've probably gained most of it back by now. I haven't weighed myself in a couple of days, but I probably have gained most of it back by now. I've been eating good.
What was the first meal?
What was your first meal when you got out?
Well, this is kind of a two-part answer, because when I got picked up by my buddies, there's a whole nother story that'll blow your mind about the drop-off pickup. If you want me to
dude, we got time.
Let me answer your question first. It was not my decision, but my ride home was hungry, and so they wanted to stop at Raising Cane's.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, not that bad.
So I wasn't going to eat it because I wasn't hungry. You got to understand, when you're in jail, your appetite and everything changes.
Yeah, you went into keto.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, your body just went into starvation mode. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you get used to starving. That's pretty much you're starving all the time, and you're sleep deprived all the time. But I wasn't hungry. I wasn't going to eat. And I was like, well, whatever. I'll eat some fried chicken. And so I had some fried chicken from Cane's, and really it just did not sit well. It just wasn't really good for me. And that was early in the morning. And so I wouldn't even really count that. I didn't eat the rest of the day. And then that night I went to one of my favorite steakhouses here.
Now we're talking.
Just had the full spread. I mean, I had the full spread. Crab cakes, lobster bisques, steak, au gratin potatoes, cream spinach. I
was going to be very let down if you didn't go get a steak.
Yeah,
considering where you live and like what you guys have around there.
Well, yeah, of course I had a steak. But you understand, I eat like 2-3 steaks a day. Like that's just my normal diet. I just am eating steak and eggs all day long.
I was wrong. My guess was going to be McDonald's. Statistically, because I've been to jail before. Statistically speaking, it's almost always McDonald's. Like people
that's because there's a McDonald's everywhere.
That's true.
And it's because it's garbage. But man, when you've been in there just eating like moldy bread and shit, you're like, get me to a McDonald's. All I want right now is like some nuggets or Big Mac and French fries and a Coke.
Yeah, and you said they didn't even let you access your commissary for like most of the time, right?
Yeah, I think it was 35 days until I got commissary access.
Whoa.
And for people that don't understand what that means, that virtually means that you don't get any food other than what the prisons provide.
Ugh.
You don't get any hygiene products. You don't get any of your own clothes. So I'm running around in sweat-stained boxers and T-shirts and all kinds of crap. I think it was 35 days till I got access to commissary. But man, I'm telling you, this is all the details of this are going to come out in my book because it's honestly unbelievable. Like all this stuff blows your mind. So this is a whole nother story that I'll tell you.
Sure.
The day I got out of solitary, it was Monday afternoon. The next day was commissary day. So we go to the commissary, and again, that's where most people get junk food there, but I don't really like potato chips, whatever. I don't eat junk food, so I got like grains and peanut butter and nuts and stuff like that. I was as healthy as I could get, basically, and then some clothes, so I could have my own clothes and some shoes, so you can have your own shoes and not the ratty rubber prison shoes that they give you. Okay, so we go to commissary, we get back, and there's lockdowns and counts. At least 2 a day. So we're in a lockdown, and I put all my commissary stuff in my rusted locker. Well, I get pulled out of my cell, and this is when they send me to the SHU. So all my commissary, about 200 letters that I'd received in the first week, and probably about 50 to 100 books that I'd received in the first week, is all there in my locker. Well, when they transfer you from your unit to the SHU, they take all of your property and they're supposed to put it in bags, check it into the SHU. You're supposed to review it, make sure it's all there, and there's a whole process. They lost or stole all of my property. All of it.
There's no way they lost it.
Yeah, that's stolen.
So, I mean,
I know you have to say they lost or I'll say it. They stole your shit, bro. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And so what happened?
So nothing happened. I'm in a legal process with the BOP.
Oh my God.
To try to, but here's the problem. The commissary value was like $360 of food and clothes.
Right.
Okay. $360, whatever. It buys me a nice steak dinner. That the property, fine, it's replaceable. It was the 200 letters, some of which I hadn't even opened yet. That's value can't even be measured.
Of course.
The first 7 days of my book entry. So we're talking like 25, 30 pages of writing that I had done, completely gone. We're talking about books that people had gifted me, some of which were leather bound and some of which were extremely rare. And I happen to know they're very expensive because I've looked into buying a few of them myself. And it just so happened some of them gifted them to me. So, I mean, it was easily probably $1,500 to $2,500 worth of property. But again, the pricelessness of my writing and letters from friends and family and loved ones,
of course,
it can't be replaced. So that's just magically gone. I mean, somehow inside the prison system, all of it's gone. All my commissary is gone. And so that's why I was without commissary for the first 35 days. Because then when I got released from the SHU, I think it was like another week before we even got to go to commissary. So I've got more details as far as that process that I'm writing inside my book. But listen to this drop-off story. This is like, I mean, I'm telling you guys, the incompetence inside of the system, the laziness and incompetence inside of the system, it's so mind-blowing that you're just in awe. I mean, your jaw just hits the floor. To the people that have been there long enough, they're so used to it. But so they give you your release date, and normally nobody can answer why they wouldn't let me have a personal vehicle. Usually the only reasons why they won't let you have a personal vehicle is if you're indignant, you have no friends, nobody cares about you, no family, and so you just can't even get yourself a ride. Or if you're some sort of a high-class felon that engaged in like major drug dealing or money laundering, and they're afraid that you're going to link up with one of your criminal buddies as soon as you get out, right? Usually those are the reasons why they don't allow you a personal vehicle pickup. Well, they never gave me a reason why they wouldn't allow me to have a personal vehicle pickup. I requested a personal vehicle pickup. They wouldn't do it. So they arranged for me to take a bus to Austin. And you can't even imagine how absurd this is in my circumstances, because I've got 5 trash bags full of property, books, letters. I mean, the amount of books I've received is just insane. So they're asking me to hop on a Greyhound bus with these 5 trash bags full of books and mail. Okay. I have no access to a cell phone. They don't let you bring anything in. No wallet, no ID. I mean, no nothing. You basically have the clothes on your back and then whatever property you have. And I an exorbitant amount of property just because of all the mail and the books I received. So they arranged for me a bus that goes from Lafayette, Louisiana to Houston, Texas, to San Antonio, Texas, to Austin, Texas, like 12-hour bus ride or something. Well, I'm able to arrange through a liaison a pickup, and I give individual in the prison my bus ticket information, and I say, can you call this individual for me? Give him this information. Tell him this is where I'm going to be. This is when I'm going to be there, and then he can pick me up. Okay, so that gets done. So I've got my arrangement for a ride to pick me up from the bus stop at Lafayette, Louisiana, because they won't let anybody pick me up from the prison. So get this. I get released at midnight technically. So early Friday morning, let's say, just midnight Thursday night, I get released. A Bureau of Prisons driver takes me to the Lafayette, Louisiana bus stop where I am supposed to catch a bus but where I'm also supposed to meet my ride. They drop me off at the wrong bus stop. I'm stuck at the wrong bus stop at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's 30 degrees out. All I have is a shirt I bought in prison and some sweatpants, 5 trash bags full of property, no cell phone, no ID, no wallet, no access to anything. I'm sitting at a random bus stop in a city I've never been in before, freezing for hours because they dropped me off at the wrong bus stop. Now, thankfully, the individuals that I had arranged to pick me up were, competent enough to realize after 30 minutes to an hour passed and I wasn't there, they said, hey, something's wrong here. Let's see if there's any other bus stops in the area. So they just get on a Maps app, plug in bus stops, and they're able to find another bus stop, and they drive to it. I'm standing outside. I'm pacing around, reading a book, just trying to stay warm, hoping they're going to show up eventually. Because at that time, I didn't even know I was at the wrong bus stop. I don't know what the hell's going on. And
how would you know that? There would be no way for you to know that. Yeah, so you were just luck. I mean, that's pretty smart of them though to think about looking at the other bus stop. But I mean, so they messed that up. And like you said, do you chalk that up to just laziness by the staff, or because I mean if I'm you, I'm just telling you me, like I would at some point. Wouldn't you start taking this shit fucking personal? Like I would, like this is personal now. Like what, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about, obviously, I think a lot of the stuff they're doing you from high up is personal, but even the day-to-day stuff, like that's just feels cruel on purpose,
I think that a lot of the treatment that happened to me was from the higher ups, but honestly, when it comes to like the situation with the bus stop, I don't know about the property, but I mean, really, man, It really is just incompetence and laziness. You got to understand that the way prisoners get treated, and this is part of the larger story I think that I have to tell now, the way prisoners get treated is inhumane. They get treated like a number, but really that explanation doesn't even properly summarize it. The way they get treated is basically like nobody cares about you. Nobody's ever going to care about you. I can do whatever I want to you, say whatever I want to you, disrespect you in ways that you don't deserve. And it just doesn't matter because nobody's ever going to hear about it. And so it just doesn't matter. And so I think they can't help themselves. I don't think that the guy intentionally dropped me off at the wrong bus stop. I really don't believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just another case of they just don't care. Yeah. And they have no reason to. Because they never get punished when they act incompetently. They never get punished for their flagrant laziness. I mean, what's going to happen to the people that drop me off at the wrong bus stop? Probably nothing.
No, they'll get promoted, actually.
Huh?
No, they'll get promoted, actually.
Yeah, they will.
It's a government bureaucratic system.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job. You killed it.
Yeah.
But like you said, you said it earlier, when you even go into the prosecutors and the judges, when your job is performance is numbers, that takes humanity completely out of the equation. There's no justice. There's no humanity. It's like, how many prisoners did you transport? You did this. You did that. It doesn't feel. It feels like from not just from you, but from what I've heard, like there's the human connection is lost. You become kind of like cattle, you know, that's moved around, and I think that, you know, we've said that too. I think that that's a big reason why a lot of people reoffend. That's not nobody who gets rehabilitated in prison. Do you know anybody that's actually gone to prison and gone, I have now been rehabilitated because their programs were so good? It just
no.
gets
If anything,
worse.
it's the opposite.
Yeah.
If anything, it's the opposite. I can understand how people. It's not that you get used to the treatment. It's just that it's so, in a way, it's so hard to try to readjust to normal life. And for me, I mean, look, I served a short sentence. I'm not acting like I had the toughest ride of a prison sentence here. But I have enough perspective to understand that trying to readjust to normal life after that might be so hard for people that they just don't even want to, and they just give up. But, you know, there's also another aspect of prison culture where some people want to be there. And this is a totally different story. But some people want to be in prison because they think it brings them street cred, or they figure it's an easier life for them in there than it is on the outside. But really, the prison system, because the theory is that there's two theories of thought, and it's rehabilitation or punishment. And I can tell you that there's no effort, as far as I can tell, to rehab anybody in there. And what really needs to happen, if you believe in rehab as the theory for imprisonment, then honestly, I think the prison system, that what needs to happen is you really need to have the opportunity to go in there and become the best person you can be. And obviously, there's not going to be everybody that's interested in that. And so you can essentially, through the process, weed out the ones that want to better themselves and put them in different situations. But the ones that do want to better themselves and become a better person, whatever that means, they should have that opportunity. I mean, honestly, like you should get a taste of, even, how could I say this? Like, you should be able to get a taste of a lifestyle that you've never experienced on the outside inside the prison. Like having a nice meal, like actually having a steak for dinner, having a nice gym where you can go and work out, having people that actually care about you around you. I feel like that's rehab. Once you've kind of seen that potential is there for you, if you work hard and apply yourself, and then you can see how, oh, wow, I really do have more that I can be. Wow, I really do have more potential. Once you have that and you get out, well, now all of a sudden the world is your oyster. But once you've been beaten down and destroyed and punished and felt like you're lesser of a person, it's such a psychological trauma that you get out into the real world and you're just like, this is too much. This is overwhelming. I'm a piece of crap. I belong back into prison. So I can see
it's kind of like the end. It's kind of like the end of the Hurt Locker, right? When he goes into the grocery store and it just freaks him out because he's not. There's so much. I can't see that, and you hear a lot. I've known people that would rather be in jail. I mean, it be because it's. What are you going to do when you get out? And there is a stigma too, if you've ever been in too. Like I honestly believe that a lot of people go in there, they serve their time, but then there's a stigma that, well, okay, but I served my time. I did what I needed to. When am I allowed to be a citizen again? Like, okay, I get it. You punished me. And I think that stigma follows you forever because, okay, you're rehabilitated. You did your time. Good luck getting a job, you know?
Well, and a lot of times the way a lot of these probations work, mine isn't quite as strict as others when it comes to their employment. But a lot of times the employment parameters on probation are so strict that really the only place you can even get a job is like a minimum wage job at a fast food restaurant or something like that, because the parameters are so restrictive. And people just look at that and they're like, well, basically I have the choice to either, work at McDonald's or work in, I don't know, some job that they don't want. Mm-hmm. But they just figure, okay, well, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to be on the outside.
Well, joke's on you, U.S. government. I've already ruined my own life. So your move, I guess.
Be careful. Don't tempt them.
Yeah, don't.
No, if there's one thing the government, they'll always find a new creative way to ruin your life.
It can always be worse. It can always be worse. So the next
There's plenty of federal pens in Florida.
Dude, trust me, we know.
I get pulled over later and they do the old, the walking tall thing where they bust my tail light out. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why is the FBI doing routine traffic stops? and busting my taillight out.
I will say something that I saw that was kind of a white pill was the outpouring of support you got on social media was great to see. Like even people that wouldn't necessarily normally like you.
Does anyone not like you besides a few people in the Department of Justice?
Yeah, I mean, because
I think that no, it's funny you say that because we have happened to hang out a couple times, and most people that meet me really like me.
Of course,
I'm actually a really likable guy. I get along with everybody. Even some of the left wing pundits that used to write, and I say used to because after they met me, they quit writing hit pieces on me.
Right.
They liked me. They were like, yeah, actually, you're not the person that we thought you were. You're actually a really nice guy. So I actually get along with everybody. I got along with pretty much everybody in prison too. That's kind of a similar thing, I guess, to the outside. But
Twitter
really,
I
would say,
they always. Oh, go ahead.
To echo what you're saying, the outpouring of support was overwhelming. And actually, I understand why a lot of people are black-pilled these days. But the outpouring of support was so impactful on me personally that it reaffirmed my faith in the American people. And I specifically say the American people because that's who it was. And I have to give a big shout out, big credit to the people that were working behind the scenes on my social media account and some of the people at InfoWars for doing such a great job. And they really did an incredible job. They went above and beyond. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if that support and that influence would have been so strong, but it was so impactful that when I had the first time I got pulled out of the SHU to meet with the warden, he basically looked at me like I was some sort of a ghost or spirit force or something, because you gotta understand, I'm sitting in a unit all day long. I don't have access to anything. Nothing. And there's this huge social media campaign being run in my name to support me. They're bringing my name up at BOP hearings. All my lawyers are constantly calling in. Letters are constantly coming in. And the warden looks at me like I'm sort of a spirit. And he's like, how are you doing this? Who are you? What is going on? And of course, I had no idea what was going on. I thought he was asking me about the phone call I made. And so I was just like, well, sir, I just wanted to make a phone call to let people know I was out of solitary and thank him for the mail and everything. And I think that's when it hit him that, like, wow, this is really organic. Like, he's actually not pulling any of these strings. He has nothing to do with this. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about. And so he I think he realized it in that moment. And then we had a bit of a talk. But yeah, the outpouring of support, my heart was just like about to burst out of my chest, like the Grinch at the end of the movie on Mount Crumpet. But it really did reaffirm my faith in the American people. Most people are good. Most people have good hearts. I think some people are in situations where they're just scared and they're just lacking courage and bravery to maybe do the right thing, or they're just confused. They're not even sure what they can do or how they can do it. But I think that the good in people's hearts is out there. It's just a matter of somehow collecting it and directing it into a force for good to save this country. But I think it's inevitable. There's too much good. There's too many good people. And at the bottom of the human soul is a desire to be free and prosper that just cannot be put out. It just won't be.
I just want to clarify your comments, though. You know, obviously you have a lot to be grateful for, a lot of great people. We're not talking about Harrison, though, right?
Oh,
fuck
yeah.
fuck that guy, right?
We love Harrison.
Everyone except Harrison Smith.
We were telling Harrison while you were in, we're like, you have the swords. You need to go in there like a samurai and free him.
He did nothing.
Yeah.
all that training with the swords, he did nothing for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, there were a lot of Marine veterans, a lot of Army veterans that wrote me. You know, I've got some friends that are some pretty epic Navy SEALs and stuff like that. And, you know, I may or may not have had some movie style fantasy of 40 to 50 Marines showing up fully armored at the jail saying, hey, release my guy. But that's just a weird fantasy I may or may not have had.
Or maybe like some Shawshank or Great Escape stuff. Any one of those movies like that. You know, you put a picture of a
I didn't
hot
have
babe.
enough time to pull something like
60
that.
days? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He
I don't
has to go with the lean on me ending.
Okay.
You can't have the fucking Shawshank.
Okay, you can't have the Shawshank. It has to be
That
the
guy
lead
dug
on
for
me.
20 years.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. That's a good point.
Although I think, you know, a bunch of Marines showing up armed at a prison probably would have made the 60 days a little longer.
Maybe a little longer.
That might have ended in a problem.
But you know,
wow, Owen turned 60 days into 25 years to life. Good
I had
job.
nothing to do with it. I'm sitting in the shoe, officer.
Like,
I'm just
look at me.
sitting in my inch thick cot.
You didn't do anything last time either. That's the fucking
That's
point.
the point. You never did anything to begin with.
You started a chant. If you did it at a goddamn college football game, you would have been fine.
Or if
you're just
or-
not allowed to do it in front of this magical
Yeah,
building.
or if you were AOC, you would have gotten away with it too. It's really all depends. It really, you know, it's a selective. It's selective imprisonment now, which honestly I don't think is very sustainable. How do you stay from being bitter? Because man, if I were you, I would be so fucking bitter.
I'm not you, and I'm bitter.
I'm not
so-
you. I'm not you, and I'm bitter for you. You know what I mean?
you guys are. You're not bitter. You're really not. You guys, what you are is you're frustrated at the corruption that is in our system because, as you pointed out, really remove Owen Shroyer as the person and just what is Owen Shroyer as the concept. I have proven beyond a reasonable doubt the two-tiered justice system. I have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there are two applications of justice. You can do exactly what Owen Shroyer did, but if you come at it from the left-wing perspective, from the anti-Trump perspective, from the pro-abortion perspective, all these leftist causes, if you're a leftist and you do what Owen Shroyer did, you are perfectly fine. You will never be arrested, never be charged, never go to jail. But if you're Owen Shroyer and you do that lesser, then you're going to suffer the full extent of the law. So removing myself as just a human being, as a concept, the reason why you're upset and bitter is because it just proves beyond a reasonable doubt that you, a conservative American, the law applies differently to you. And if the left does anything they want, they will never suffer the consequences. But if you engage in your lawful, peaceful, free speech, you're going to suffer the consequences. So I think that's the political bitterness and frustration. That's where it comes through. But as far as why am I not bitter as a person? I love life too much.
Yeah.
Life is way too precious. And I just enjoy living way too much to go about this life bitter. And really, that's what they want. At a certain level, the American left wants you to be bitter and hate life and drugged down by it, just like they are. And that's why they love communism so much. And that's why they want to tell you how to live your life so much. Their misery, and they're looking for company in their misery. So we don't want to join them in that misery. And I refuse to join them in that misery. But without a doubt, my case politically does not go down in vain, because I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there are two applications of justice in this country and that political imprisonment is a real thing. And now we have a situation where speech imprisonment is a real thing. So look, my struggle and everything they've done to me is
I hope that's not what you're calling the book.
my struggle.
Yeah, please don't call it my struggle. That's been taken. Don't do my struggle.
Has it?
Yeah, it has. It has actually.
Sorry, I couldn't
All
help
right,
it.
hold on, guys. I'm gonna have to.
Oh God, I gotta call my editor. Give me a second.
Yeah, we'll work with. That's a working now.
Fuck. So you're back on Twitter?
Yeah.
You happy?
Dude.
I get out of prison
That
and
is-
then I get out of Twitter prison.
He's got two Twitters, but here's the problem: the new Twitter he made seems to have more reach than his old Twitter, because everything on the new Twitter blows up immediately.
Well, I think what's going on is I think that there's still a lot of gremlins left in the system that Musk, Musk probably doesn't even have the time or even maybe the concern to deal with it all. So there's still a bunch of gremlins left around. But the way I'm approaching it now is that the Owen Shroyer 1776 account, which is new and doesn't have all the old gremlins lurking around, keeping it censored, that's going to be for all my political stuff, all my media stuff. Like with this interview, we shared it there.
Right.
So that's where you're going to see most of the activity. And then my old account at All I Do Is Owen, that's just going to be a personal account.
Nice.
I kind of want to just keep that away from politics
Makes
and
sense.
just do some personal stuff over there, maybe some videos or some posts every once in a while. But yeah, I'm directing the thrust of my media activity and my politics at Owen Shroyer 1776 because it does much better. and it's able to get verified. I can't even verify my old one, even though it was before it got censored.
By the way, your Rumble show has been great. I've checked a couple of them out.
Yeah,
in the chat. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's really good. It's fun. You're taking calls. Like
I kind of like this. Like when you get on Rumble and you're in this setup.
Yeah, it's so great.
And it's a little more cash. It's like Owen Shroyer after dark.
Right.
Like he's not because when you're on
Like,
Infowars, he's all suited and
gulag.
Yeah, because you're all suited up on Infowars and you're always like dressed like an NFL analyst. But then you do the Rumble show.
Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that. Daddy makes me wear the suit and tie.
That makes sense. Something else that I did want to hit, because I know we're coming towards the end here, but something else I want to hit. It has been amazing to see a lot of what I would call mainstream conservative people that wouldn't touch anybody on Infowars now having you on, having Alex on, having all these just people that 6 months ago wouldn't even say your guys' name are now seeing everything shift. They're like, no, let's have these people on. That has to be nice to know that it was more people are waking up to it and going like, wait a second, these aren't boogeymen. These are people that we should be able to talk to all these people.
Well, let me give you kind of both sides of this coin here, and I'll start with the more negative side, if you will. When I got out, I realized something, and I've been making the analogy that it's like a man who smokes a pack a day for a decade, then doesn't smoke a cigarette for a decade, and then smokes his first cigarette. He's coughing up a lung. Being in there was a detox process from the political world, if you will, the media world. And when I got out, it was like smoking that first cigarette. I was hacking up a lung, and it really made me realize what an animalistic world the political media is. I mean, it's like, the right wing wants to point at the left wing for being inhumane and not having a soul and a conscience. But let me tell you, at a certain level, the right wing is the exact same way.
Yeah.
I mean, the desperation for attention and for clout and the chasing and the hamster wheel and the rat race. I got to tell you, the first 48 to 72 hours after getting out and dealing with that, I was like, honestly, I was sickened by it. I mean, part of me was like, this is so toxic and so just horrible and animalistic. Like, I was almost like, I don't even want to deal with this anymore. Now I was able to power through it. And I'm fine now, and I'm pretty much 100% rearing and going now. I'm I guess you could say I'm toxified again. I'm smoking a pack a day again. But I got to tell you, those first 72 hours, those first cigarettes, man, it was like, this is gross. Like, this is nasty, and it is. It really is. So
I think the monetization's made it worse on Twitter too. It's made it far worse.
Yeah. So the reason why I say that is because if I'm looking at it from kind of the negative standpoint, I'm thinking, oh, well, these are people who are just clout chasing. These are people who are just trying to use us now that we've been completely validated and vindicated and going viral and everything to try to get a step up. Now, I'm not saying I totally believe that. I'm just pointing out that other side of the coin. But I think most likely what's going on is that if there were doubters or haters, or if there were people that felt you couldn't have Alex Jones on the show or Owen Shroyer on the show or others on the show because they were afraid of getting censored or demonetized, I think that maybe that's kind of waned. And I think that maybe that fear has kind of gone away, or maybe now these topics of conversation, they're more willing to discuss. So I would say that's the positive side of that coin. I hope that that's fully the case and not the latter that I talked about. But
I hope so, because it signifies, hopefully, the pendulum starting to swing back the other way, which is,
R.I.P. Steve C.
Yeah, but it has like, it feels like the momentum is, and I think partly to do with Twitter, partly to do with Tucker, and of course, what's been happening to you and what happened to Alex. I think people are starting to realize, well, this is not sustainable. We can't turn into a commie shithole. This is not going to happen, and people have been pushing back, because I do believe what you said, that people inherently want to be free, whether they know it or not. I think it's part of our lizard brain, where we want to be free. We don't want to be locked down.
Yeah, the lizard. You ever tried to catch a lizard? It doesn't want to be caught.
No, that's a good point. It does not want to be caught. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton, still free. But but it's it has been nice to see that. I do understand that. Look, better that than everybody. It just, I agree with the disgusting part. I agree with it being dirty. You see it all the time. If you're on Twitter for 10 minutes, like you have to I have to get myself off of Twitter because I'll fucking lose my mind for a while because it's just everybody vying for content, you know, stealing other people's stuff, trying to be the first person or this and that. And I want to say this. Here's a humble brag. Mersh and I were down with the InfoWar homies before it was safe and cool. We were riding with the old school. We didn't care. We were never afraid. We were never afraid. I just want to put that out there. I want to put that out there. We were never scared. And also because we're smaller than the rest of them.
We're also nobodies.
We're
That's
nobodies.
also why we've never
It's easy
gone
because we're
anywhere.
nobodies, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. But by the way, man, thank you so much for being on, dude. This we really appreciate. I know you did like a billion interviews, and I didn't even want to bug you to ask, but I appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
dude. Seriously, thanks for coming in and always being a bro. You rule, man.
Yeah, you're a good dude. By 5,000 watching now, hit the like button and go watch. Go subscribe to Owen's Rumble show. It's very good.
It's rumble.com. It's Owen.
Yeah.
You got actually, that's pretty
Wait a
slick.
second. Wait, hold on a second. Were we just doing a show?
Yeah, this was a show.
I thought we were just catching up.
We were just. This is
Yeah,
how
yeah,
this.
this is our show. There's not a big format. We don't go to break.
I'm gonna
every
break.
5 minutes.
I'll break the.
We're
fourth,
not professionals.
I'm gonna break the fourth wall and something reason that I like Owen because he does some of the same thing we do when we do InfoWars. When we're on break, he'll always try to say 2 or 3 things to break us right before we go back live, and I'm like, oh god damn it. He would go like, we're coming back. Hey, blah 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 blah. I'm like, hey guys, welcome back to him. Like, god damn it.
Yeah, we have the old Opie and Anthony format where guests come on in and go, oh wait, were we actually on here?
Dude, seriously, man, thank you so much. And honestly, this is great to see. I mean, I think that the momentum you have right now is fantastic, and it's only going to grow. And you've been killing it on, well, call it X now, whatever, Twitter. You know what I mean.
And we're going back to Texas soon, and we owe you a steak and a totally not alcoholic.
We owe you a
beverage.
steak and an O'Doul's.
Here you go, and an O'Doul's.
A steak and an O'Doul's. Or Heineken Zero, whatever you want on us, man.
I owe you.
well,
I owe you a
love
steak
steaks.
and a Yingling poured into an O'Doul's. Don't worry, I've been on probation before, brother. I'll get you through this. I can get clean piss.
Wait a second. You know the guys. I don't even want to say it.
No.
Let's just say when you pee in the cup, you're not alone. Okay. You got an audience, okay?
Me neither, but that's why I
That's
do it in
great.
public bathrooms.
I'm so glad you guys are coming to Texas. I look forward to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely hang my head out there, man. Of course, dude. But dude, thank you so much for being on, man. And go enjoy a Merry Christmas. You know, enjoy your Christmas and stuff. Seriously.
Wait a second. That reminds me. Before we go, I even brought this hat.
Oh, he has a Christmas hat. Look at that.
Oh,
Woo,
I like
I
it.
love it.
What's
Yeah.
that's very? Is that like a cheetah print?
Oh yeah, real.
Oh, that's very
Yeah,
like
actually.
mafia. That's like a mafia Guido Christmas
Yeah,
hat.
it
I like
is. That is. Look at that.
I found there was a cheetah roaming around Texas. I don't know how it got in here, or maybe I was at a zoo or
Yeah,
something. I don't know,
I
but
think
I
it was a
chased
zoo.
it down with my bare hands, and I said, "Turn this into a hat." And
Dig it.
this is what I got.
That's why the
That's
San
it.
Antonio Zoo was saying they were missing a cheetah. I think we figured out why.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was a zoo. I don't. I just saw a cheetah and wanted a hat.
Owen, man, thank you so much,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
And
You rock.
obviously, you're not at this. Now you're like, you're like Tucker level, but you're always welcome on this show. You need to plug anything. Obviously, you know that. So,
All right. Well, I love you guys.
yeah,
Peace
man.
and love, brothers.
Hey, man,
Can't
Yeah,
wait
man.
to
Good to
you.
see you out.
hey, dude, yeah, Merry Christmas,
And yeah,
buddy.
Merry Christmas, dude.
See you later,
Merry
bud.
Christmas. Merry Christmas, one and all.
There goes Owen. Take it easy. Go check out his Rumble show. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've been posting the link in the chat the whole time. So
That was fun, man. Owen's the best.
yeah, he's
And you know, something that people don't really realize, and I want to make very clear, like the Owen you see is the Owen you get, because a lot of times you see people on air and stuff, and then you hang out with them like that is not the same. That's Owen is Owen. You know, if anything, Owen's even more fun.
Yeah.
If anything, he's even more crazy, but in a good way, not in an illegal way. Probation.
I will say,
officers.
even Harrison, like off the air, is a little crazier than he is on the air. Like most, like he buttons it up a little bit
having
for the
lunch
show.
with Harrison's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
He's based as
It's
fuck.
fun.
Too,
It's
so.
super based.
But yeah, Owen's definitely the same on the off the air, and I would say Alex is the same. Alex Jones is the same on and off the air too. A little less yelling, just a little,
Yeah, a little
like less yelling,
A little, yes, but he's the
but
energy.
still the same energy.
Energy's there for sure.
Pacing around, smoking a
By the
cigarette.
way, shout out to, because I know a bunch of InfoWars people were listening. Shout out to everyone at InfoWars. Everyone we've met at InfoWars
Real
has been,
nice.
been fucking awesome.
Even the security guard who lets me be annoying and smoke every fucking 15 minutes.
Yeah, Merch kept going out there smoking, and they're like, "Come on, man, fucking Christ!" But shout out to everyone at InfoWars, and I really do think that Hopefully they get this Alex stuff settled and they bounce back big because they got all the momentum going right now.